Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you this special bulletin. I fear that we are not going to ever get the true sequel to the underwater horror game. And for me, yes, it wasn't indeed a horror game. Thanks, Jaws, while growing up. Be careful watching horror movies as kids. Don't show that to your children. Anyway, I'm worried we're never going to get Subnautica 2. Why? Because it's a bunch of nonsense going on with it. And for now, before we get into what the most recent information, let's go down, of course, a little catcher-upper. I'll have a link in the description box down below. GameIndustry.biz has a much more in-depth discussion on the timeline of events. But hey, let's go through the cliff notes real quick. Subnautica 2 news timeline centered around a major lawsuit filed by Unknown Worlds, the original creators of Subnautica, and that whatever that sequel was on Earth, after they got bought out by Krafton Studios against their parent company Krafton in July 2025. After the unfortunate delay of early access to 2026. Why on earth would they do that? Founders were fired in July 2025 by Krafton, who cited the game's lack of readiness as a reason, even though everybody at the studio said, no, it's ready for early access. Why would they do such a thing? Timeline of events. October 2024, Krafton officially confirms development of Subnautica 2. And I was so genuinely excited. Multiplayer, actual multiplayer, new builds, new biomes, new underwater horrors. I was excited. July 2nd, 2025, Krafton appoints Steve, that last name, Papuzzi? Papuzzi. We'll go with Papuzzi. Did I pronounce it right? Y'all let me know. As the new CEO of Unknown Worlds, replacing the founders. Almost like they had a plan in place. July 9th, early access release for Subnautica 2 officially delayed, with Krafton stating it needs more polish and content. Even though the founders, the people working on the game, said, no, it's ready for early access. Some reports suggest the delay was to avoid the 250 million earn out tied to 2025 performance targets, which kind of difficult not to take that as gospel. We'll say gospel. July 10th, 2025, lawsuit between the founders and Unknown Worlds and Krafton begins, citing wrongful termination and disputing the claims. I know how to read. Claims of the game's unreadiness. July 11th, 2025. In their lawsuit, the founders state that Krafton's claims about the game's premature release were false, and the pretext for the termination. July 2025. Krafton shifts its reasoning for the firing, abandoning the argument that the founders were terminated for wanting to release the game early. Now we come to September 2025. Krafton makes another shift in its legal argument, which brings us to this article from PC Gamer. Subnautica 2 lawsuit is getting even messier. They're digging deep, folks. They're subpoenaing the founders' smart devices for forensic analysis. Huh? This is over a video game. Or is it over a $250 million bonus? Which, according to what I read before, Krafton was offering that to Unknown Worlds if they met a target financial goal by the end of 2025 or by end of some fiscal period related to 2025. And the early access release of Subnautica 2 would have, well, easily, in my opinion, and I'm biased because of my love for the original game, not the second Frozen Wasteland. That was nonsense. It got boring really quick. My bias for the original game, I do firmly believe that they could have met and exceeded those goals, which would have forced Krafton to pay out the $250 million bonus as part of the buyout contract. But let's get back to the actual title before I go any further. Let's see. Krafton doing a massive U-turn, confusing both the ousted founders' lawyers and the judge. This is a little bit bewildering. One of its key claims that the founders were terminated because they wanted to release Subnautica 2 before it was ready has been dropped. Oopsie doopsie. Now, how on earth does this make sense? What's PC Gamer going to say? Update, Krafton has shared a statement from the lawyers on the lawyer's discovery phase, which I have included in full below. Well, isn't that nice? You put an update, a positive update. I guess they put the positive updates at the beginning of the article. Yes, of course, I'm going to dunk on PC Gamer, even though I'm using their article because it's fun. Krafton believes the discovery requests made by the former executives are overly broad and extend beyond what is relevant to the core issues. We have complied, and will continue to comply with all the court's rulings on discovery. We remain focused, blah, blah, blah. Lawyer speak, lawyer speak, lawyer speak. Original story. Wasn't that long ago? We were anticipating the imminent arrival of Subnautica 2. It's a horror game. I don't care what you say. Open waters makes me quiver. However, one of these days, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever want to watch me freak out and laugh your silly little butts off at someone else's terror, horror, and pain, one of these days I will get my hands on a way to play Subnautica in VR. It'll only be about 5 or 10 minutes, but it'll be something to watch. Oh, I'm positive. I've got to play it. I just have to. I can't play Five Nights at Freddy's in VR, but I'm going to play Subnautica in VR. Where was I? Because it's a horror game. Terrifying. Sequel to the superb underwater survival game has yet to appear, much to the dismay of the fans like myself. And the founders of Unknown Worlds have been ousted by owner Krafton. They claim that the founders were shirking their duties, leaving the studio to go pursue hobbies. I think one of them was movie making, TV shows, to go off and do some other things instead of focusing on the game. But again, one side says one thing, the other side, Krafton says one thing, Unknown Studios and their founders say another thing. Somewhere in between there is the truth. And honestly, I just want I want the game. I want the game. Give us the early access. Give us what we want. One of the reasons given for the termination was the state of the game. That the studio, the developers, the people creating the whole thing that probably went through the early access of Subnautica 1 said was ready. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. If you have a successful game that was Subnautica, the original, and you buy the studio, hey, maybe just a thought. Let them do what they do. Let them cook. Let them put out what they believe is the right thing to do. Unless, of course, you don't want to pay them the bonus you promised them in the contract. But what do I know? Founders believed that it was ready for an early access launch and planned to go through with it. Krafton, meanwhile, believed it wasn't ready. It's ready. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Nuh-uh, uh-huh, nuh-uh, uh-huh. I feel like it's the argument between the two kids in Emperor's New Groove. Good night, Mom. Nuh-uh, uh-huh, nuh-uh, uh-uh, nuh-uh, uh-huh, whatever. It's not ready. Yes, it is. You were going to make oodles and oodles of money on it. Why wouldn't you release it? See my previous statement. I'm going to try to repeat myself a lot less. Surprising U-turn with Krafton significantly changing its arguments. Oh, do tell. Now in the discovery phase, so Fortis Advisors, which represents the ousted founders, sought discovery to see if Krafton held evidence to back up its claims. Quote, despite its obvious relevance, Krafton feigned astonishment during the parties' meet and confers at how it could possibly be part of Phase 1. I don't know what any of that meant. Let's try this again. Despite its obvious relevance, Krafton feigned astonishment during the parties' meet and confers at how it could possibly be part of Phase 1. So Fortis Advisors wants the discovery phase to go through. They want evidence of Krafton's claim, but Krafton is wondering how it could be possibly part of Phase 1. They're trying to delay the discovery phase. They don't want to give evidence of their claims. Seems kind of sketchy to me. If I misunderstood that claim, y'all go ahead and read it a couple of times. And is that what it sounds like to me? They want to know why. They want to know why evidence to back up their claims could possibly be part of Phase 1 discovery. I don't know. It seems like that would be something you wanted to put first and foremost to shut down Fortis Advisors and Unknown Studios. Did I get that right? Or is my brain just absolutely leaking all Unknown Worlds? What did I say? I already forgot what I said. I don't use the script. Can you tell? Let's see. Essentially, Krafton said that... Oh, it's going to explain what I was trying to understand. Is it really going to do that? Let's find out. Essentially, Krafton says that documents relating to the readiness of the game were irrelevant to the termination. Documents relating to the readiness of the game were irrelevant to the termination, even though that was part of your reason for terminating them. What? Which is what this phase of discovery is focused on. So I was right in my assumption. Despite this being the reason cited in the termination notice, bob and weave, dodge, and duck and dive to avoid proving your point. And in the end, you can just change your reason for termination. I think Unknown Worlds has a case in their favor. But again, what do I know? I'm not an attorney. Which was also repeated publicly and in court. Quote, the termination notices of the founders gave one reason for the termination, and that was the supposed lack of readiness of Subnautica 2 for release. Krafton reiterated that basis for its action repeatedly, but apparently they have decided to shift and say, nuh-uh. Ford has called it a seismic shift in the case and a little bewildering. This was also echoed by the judge, Lori W. Will, when the parties met for a ruling on the filed motion, saying, quote, well, that's something that we definitely need to get to the bottom of today because that is precisely what was cited and the reason is the answer. They're changing their answer as much as they possibly can to avoid showing evidence or lack thereof, perhaps because they don't actually have any. Krafton is focusing on the arguments that the founders abandoned their post. I did do a video on that. That was mentioned somewhere, a couple months ago? And deceived their employer, even though they said the game was ready to be put into early access. Causing more confusion is the accusation that the founders downloaded files and kept devices with confidential information on them. How about we'll show you ours, I'll show you yours if you show you mine. So if you want the devices, if Krafton wants the devices, this is just silly about what I'm about to say. Krafton wants their devices to be turned over for forensic analysis because they're claiming right here that the founders downloaded files and kept devices with confidential information on them. Now, if that is the case and Krafton wants to prove that, how about Krafton provide some evidence of their accusations of what they're talking about, that the game wasn't ready and that the original founders abandoned their post, show evidence of that, and then the Unknown Worlds founders can turn over their devices and we'll see who's right, who's wrong, and who's a big scumbag. Only came to light after the termination, so its relevance has been questioned, making shit up as they go along. Krafton's position is that this justifies their termination after the fact. Fortis also alleged that Krafton hasn't been playing ball. Oh, this is a whole bunch of nonsense. How much is this? This seemed to be coming across as bitter exes fighting over ownership of the dog. Who's going to get the rights to the dog? Except this time the dog is, Subnautica 2. What's going to happen? Are they going to have to take Subnautica 2 out back and put him down like Old Yeller? I do wonder. It's very narrow. Sounds like, oh, I skipped something. Did I? No, I didn't. Oh, this is the important part right here, in my opinion, because it deals with a whole buttload of money. It is alleged that Krafton hasn't been playing ball, pushing back against some of its requests for discovery and refusing to confer. It claimed it needs emails and documents that relate to the earnouts. The founders have accused Krafton of intentionally delaying the game so it wouldn't have to pay the $250 million earnout. But Krafton is only willing to provide data from 2 people high up in the company rather than employees who were, quote, on the ground. Looks like ultimately they're fighting over a $250 million payout, earnout, whatever you want to call it, whatever terminology you want to use. They want forensic analysis over what the founders may or may not have on their phone, and yet they don't want to come out. They're changing the reasons why they're being fired why they were fired in the middle of the lawsuit. Huh? Why would they possibly want to do that? Like I said in the beginning, I do worry that this little argument, this little fight is going to delay the game indefinitely. I really hope that's not the case. Please, I want to play more scary Subnautica, open water, deep, terrifying water. But they also said you're not going to be able to kill any of the Leviathans, which has me sad. Does that mean they're not going to be able to attack you and eat you? That kind of takes away the fear of the game. I don't know where this is going to go, but I will continue to keep an eye on it, continue to make videos on it, because, again, I am a bit biased because I loved the first game. I want to play more of it. I still play it to this day every now and then. Haven't beaten it yet. I'm not really concerned about it. I like exploring. I like building. I like to see just what I can fit into one base. And one day I've had the idea of having one base with just a tube going to, like, passing through from one end of the map to the other end of the map that you just run to and from. It's a goal. But that's enough of that tangent. Let me know what you think of this whole case in the comment section down below. Leave a like, leave a dislike, do all the nifty little things that YouTube is begging you to do. And to all the, I'm going to date the 200 plus subscribers that have joined since the most recent Pal World Nintendo video. Thank you, and thank you. Hope you stick around. Hope to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.